King Arthur, a ruler of the Brits. A non-traditional depiction, perhaps, but considering the state of modern Britain, it might not be as far-fetched as you think. So I've fallen down a bit of a black alt history rabbit hole, and man, it is something. Everything from the more innocent, good old-fashioned fetish fantasies of being surrounded by, French women, I can only assume, considering the facial features and the downright hideous nature of some of them, to the slightly more esoterical. See, the fetish fantasy is one thing. Who hasn't been ever dreamt about being surrounded by French people? Usually with a stick in hand, but details. And then you've got stuff like this. Black Superman. Okay, again, just a degree of fetish fantasy. What's so strange about that? Allow me to explain. Matthew Kapaka here, the actual real Superman. Us, the indigenous... That's a dangerous word on YouTube these days. We're the only people that this story mirror in every aspect. Our people come from the Sirius star system. Okie dokie then. Landed here on Earth, went through frequency wars that destroyed our planet to where our vibrations fell. Black people arrived on Earth, vibrated violently, and then their home planet exploded. Aha. This is a strange foundation myth. We lost our size and magical powers. I don't know why that part in particular is so funny. Oh, we vibrated so violently that we lost our magical powers. Oh, right. That will allow us to be strong. Now we are in a state of amnesia, while the whole world, non-nine either, mankind tamahu and human artificial intelligence... I don't know if that's simply bad spelling or if it's a particular thing, fights and works together to keep us asleep so we don't rise through their secret societies and covenants. The reason why we are inventing artificial intelligence is not so that we can produce huge quantities of black fetish fanfic. It is to keep the black people down so that they never remember that they have magic powers. It's just, I adore that. So there is a whole breadth of lore behind the black alt history, stuff that makes white supremacy look positively realistic by comparison. Because honestly, if I had to choose between black people come from space and had magical powers before one day they just kind of forgot, or white people come from Antarctica... You know, so long as we ignore the whole snow giants and hunting mammoth thing, the latter seems significantly more realistic. And you can kind of sum up the black alt history line fairly easily. Basically, anything, anywhere, at any time whatsoever was probably black. Fergus Moore, the first king of Scotland. Yeah, no, he looks Scottish to me. Absolutely, definitely Scottish. The Mayans, again, a famous black kingdom right there, empire. The Moors, when they ruled in France. Now, okay, here's the thing. There is actually a sliver of truth to the whole when the Moors ruled Europe thing. Because, well, they didn't rule Europe, but they did rule parts of modern-day Europe. For example, I think they occupied Sicily for a while, and obviously they pushed into Spain until the Reconquista tossed them all the way out again. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Spanish then discovered, you know, America, they might have continued on down into Africa again, but hey. And there was also pushes into Europe as well, of course, so the gates of Vienna by the Ottoman Turks, so there is a sliver of truth to this, but I'm relatively certain they never controlled France. fairly sure. And also, I do love the entire idea of, well, as the blacks were the ones who built civilization, who created everything, and yet here you have European-style clothings, European noble clothing, and European structures in the background, with Roman columns, etc. Odd that. The black were also Mayans, of course. They were the ancient Carthaginians. They were not Phoenicians or anything. No. That whole foundational myth of a Phoenician woman tossing out the strip of the cowhide, etc., to mark the borders of her city. No. She was actually indigenous. Or perhaps the Greeks were black. Hold on, I think we might get to that. The Russians were obviously black. Here we have the Russian Tsar family, of course. This adds a whole other dimension to the revolution. It was a hate crime. Also, I love the young blonde boy there as well. And his mother has a few too many fingers, but that's AI for you. There we go. Of course, the Phoenicians were black because the Greeks were black. Well, silly me. I should have seen that one coming, frankly. Hannibal was black, of course. Weirdly, the Romans weren't black. I have yet to see any indication the Romans were black. It's just, the Romans were apparently the only whites that just rose up against blacks on all sides. That too is a bit of a hate crime when you think about it. The Chinese, obviously, were ruled by the blacks, of course, naturally. The Vikings were black. We was Vikings. Oh god, SAS. Our Viking ancestors. The builders of Stonehenge, black. And of course, we get back to the fetish fantasy stuff when the Moors ruled in Europe. And you know what? A part of me looks at stuff like this and thinks, okay, well, where's the harm in it? You know, you have yourself a harem of white women. There's rarely a harem of black women in all this fetish fantasy stuff, which is a bit weird. You'd think that would be of paramount importance. Oh, there we go. There's... Can I? Well... I don't know if we're in fetish fantasy territory or a nightmare territory anymore, but that's at least a couple women of color right there in the harems. That's something. This one confuses me. A white lion and a little black girl. Is this the black alt history equivalent of the dog pill? Yeah, I don't know about that one. And of course, we've also got Yasuke, the first samurai. He's the first samurai. He wasn't merely a samurai anymore, no. He was the samurai. The Japanese didn't have a system of warrior nobility until the arrival of Yasuke and his remarkable double-bladed katana. Which, to be fair, would kind of be a cool weapon. You know, full Darth Maul style. And the Japanese simply weren't able to handle a complicated weapon such as a double-bladed katana. Which, to be fair, would be rather awkward to wield. And so they only use one blade instead, because they could never quite live up to the legend of the very first samurai. It's... quite a thing, this. Oh, there we go. There's a black woman. Moorish queens of Europe. Ah, yes. As we all know, of course, Africa was a very gender-neutral continent, with a tremendous amount of conquering queens invading the Europes. Yes. Yes. Oh, hey, here we go. It's, well, when the Moors... I don't even know what this is. Most of them look a little bit inbred, honestly. This has got to be near the end of their reign, surely, when things were starting to fall apart due to prodigious quantities of inbreeding. Holy moly, that does not look good. Now, there's an entire page of this stuff. Literally, there's the guy who just makes AI artwork of black old history. Oh, wow. Ancient giants who ruled. Well, shit. There we go. This is the blacks before the vibrations took away their superpowers. Presumably these lesser blacks. We're really getting into interesting territory yet again now. They were the blacks who had vibrated too early and too aggressively, and had now become the slave species of the larger blacks. I'm not quite sure where we're going with this one either. This really is quite something, honestly. Oh boy, he's not even a giant, he's just an aborigines. I thank you for sharing our heritage. Oh boy. Black old history is we've been saying for ages now that Africa needs its own mythology. It needs to start making its own stories and its own folklore instead of just ripping off everybody else's. Well, there you go. There's the result, and I, for one, I'm all for it. I want to see the Netflix story of the 12-foot giant black Indian oppressing the lesser Indians, who have, granted, apparently figured out full-on sailboats. That's pretty impressive, everything considered. Oh, God help me. Well, next time you see a white supremacist and you cringe a little bit internally at their tales of subterranean kingdoms filled with ginormous mammoths and ice giants, know that this apparently is a far more universal thing than one might originally have thought. Once more, the horseshoe strikes. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again. Have a good day.